Cool.
Okay, so it's time to start Beaver Politics, which is about Canadian politics and social justice issues. The Mrs. Radical and Nerdy, our tech person who's joined the team, we're working together to try and make it more, give a platform that's friendly so people can come up and share their stories, share their facts, share their opinions. And that's what we're here to do. Today is a couple days before the BC election actually occurs. 2 days before. 2 days before. So our platform, we decided we would do a review of everything that's gone on over the last 5 or 6 weeks, try to digest some of those pieces of information. And that's, that's the intention here tonight with no guest. But I want to say that I know there's a burning issue around foreign interference here in Canada. And I'm a little worried our topic could be overtaken. So if what I'm really hoping is we can spend at least a half an hour on this BC election focus and then give space for anybody who wants to talk about the foreign interference, which, it's important to us in British Columbia as well. So Mrs. Radical, do you have anything you want to say?
Just actually Nerdy does.
Nerdy?
I just wanted to do my mod stuff.
Okay.
All right, just a reminder for the 23 people that are in here, tapping is clapping, so if we can get our fingers tapping on that screen. If you tap somewhere in the comments. Is clapping, so if we can get our fingers tapping on that screen. If you tap MS Lotus, you have a echo. You just need to swipe out, swipe back in. If you minimize the app and then come back in, it'll get rid of your echo. If you minimize the app and then come back in, it'll get rid of your echo.
Oh, okay.
There we go. No, don't scroll out. Okay, that's okay.
Okay, she'll be back.
All right. So tapping is clapping, sharing is caring. Best way to share, tapping, what I was going to say is you need to tap on the Beaver Politics box here, or you can tap right above. There's a little blank space in between the comments and our boxes. You can also tap in there. It makes it easy as well. And then we also, sharing is caring. So if you guys can share the live, if you hold your finger down on the Beaver Politics, I'll put this big when everybody's when we're just having a major conversation. If you hold your finger down, it'll pop up a screen, and then you can just go send, because each send counts as a share, instead of sending it to 10 people in one share, and it only counts as one share. Also, gift the channel, gift the panel if you can. We put a lot of emotional and mental labor into talking about this stuff on a weekly basis. Make sure you join the team as well. There's a little heart right above right next to Beaver Politics. Once you followed us, it's a coin to do that. It's a nice way to support the channel. Nice, it doesn't cost a whole heck of a lot. And last but not least, so you can subscribe to us. So we have a subscription. It's $5.49 a month for subscribing to us. You get really cool emotes, which did I keep it in there? I'm going to post them from the Beaver Politics channel. Those are the really cool emotes that we have right now. You get those, and then you also get access to our Discord server that we have that is going to be always growing. So if you already are subscribed, then just make sure you, when you click on the star, they'll say Discord access. You click on Discord, and it'll take you over there, and sign you up into the Discord. So I think that was it. And I'll be having a poll later on, I think more towards the end, about who everybody thinks is going to win the election in BC.
Thank you, Nerdy.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. All the effort that Nerdy has done, what she just described, she did all this herself. And part of the reason that we have to sort of focus on these things that Nerdy is focusing on is because simply in our title, Beaver Politics, we are not allowed on TikTok to promote our page because they don't promote politics. So we're not going to be pushed out, or we're not going to be able to push that out into the For You page zone. Yeah. What Nerdy has done is all that's going to fix that. So thank you, Nerdy. And I'm going to interrupt the program a couple times for Nerdy to do her.
Probable Falls just subscribed. Thank you for subscribing to us.
Thank you.
Oh, wow.
Thank you. Oh, the one last thing I wanted to mention too is we do have a YouTube channel. I did post last week's video this morning. I'm going to get better at posting them on time, like right afterwards. Yeah, so we do have the episode 3 up right now. And then hopefully tomorrow I can get this one up hopefully.
All right.
I'll get it.
Right. But let's roll on to the review of what's happened so far. And if anybody has questions, now's the time to come up and answer. There's only 2 days left. But I'll tell you, the advanced polls, here's a place I'd like to kind of throw out the conversation. What does it mean when so many people, and at this point, it's like a third of the people that are able to vote have gone out and done so already in the early election? What does this mean? Anybody got a...
I do.
You go right ahead. Love to hear it.
Okay, so normally a massive turnout in advanced polls favors the opposition party. That's what you'd normally think, right? And that's what normally has happened because you've got the incumbent. People are driven to polls more by negative than they are by positive. It's not like, hey, the government's doing a great job, I better get out there. It's more about those bloody buggers in government. We got to get them out. Having said that, I've done a lot of research, and websites like 338.com is brilliant, and they are quite strong on the NDP. And I've actually, just in my own community, am starting to hear people change their minds from Green because of just the sheer horror of what's before us with some of these conservative candidates. And people are not wanting to risk it this election. I think there's a bit of the Harris kind of thing going on here in British Columbia where, yeah, she was incumbent, but she now looks like the change candidate. This whole thing about going forward, not back, is working for her. And I think one of the things that Premier Eby and the NDP have done a pretty good job of is saying we don't want to go back. They've kind of taken that message as well, and they're using it quite effectively. And I honestly think they're going to get a majority.
Jerry did an amazing video yesterday.
I was just going to talk about it.
Aggregate, and Sherry, you've got me turned on to this 388. I am obsessed.
Yeah. Well, 338, the thing about 338 that people need to understand is that it's an aggregate. It's not a poll. And so what it does is it takes every poll that's out there and it gives them actually grading. You can go in and see their grade mark for each poll. But they have a formula that they use to average out all the polls. And they've got about an 89% success rate for predicting the outcome. There it is up there. What's really interesting about this election is I've never seen a party that was favored to win or at least favored to be a tie. I've never seen a party go into an election cycle favored to win only to lose support continually.
Yep.
They've lost half their support. Now, I don't know if any of you have seen it today. I covered this article from the Tyee, and I want to speak to what you were speaking to there, T-Jack, about why it looks so different and why it's such a different anomaly, because there's been interference from other provinces. There was an article in the Tyee that talked about an organization called West Coast Proud. And they're connected to Preston Manning's old think tank called, now it's called Canada Strong and Free. And they're also tied in with Canada Strong, or Canada Proud, and New Brunswick Proud, and a similar one in Quebec, and the same one in Alberta. And there's been West Coast Proud is actually backed by Alberta conservative activists. And they have been funneling money for advertising third party into the BC Conservatives since July.
Gosh.
Since July. And they've actually been interfering at a federal level since 2018 and 2019. And they've been using these third parties to push, to advertise, to favor one candidate, one party over another in various elections from the municipal all the way to the federal across Canada. Now, what's at stake here in the BC election is that they did an ad buy through Facebook and Instagram. They have 16,000 followers on Facebook and 10,000 followers on Instagram. And they funneled about $47,000 in ad buys in July. But they won't tell anybody where the $47,000 came from. So in BC, when the NDP came to power in 2017, the election law, they changed the election laws to get big money out of our elections. And they allow third party advertising and third party lobbyists, but the money that they use has to come from individual BC residents.
Yeah.
But they won't tell us where that money came from. And what's even more suspicious is when you go to their pages like BC Rising, which I also talked about, you can't find any of their staff names or any of their directors.
I saw that video. Alberta is famous.
Yeah.
I lived out there. They get little small churches and gyms, and they start fundraising and speaking from the pulpit.
Yeah.
And this is how and then they start funneling them through Facebook pages. And I know them all. I went to their churches. I sat at their dinner tables. They said, I know them.
So I think what happened was it created a false sense of buzz and a false sense of support for the Conservative Party over the summer that wasn't really reflected in the electorate.
Question.
Yeah.
When you showed that poll, and it went kind of, I can't remember the numbers, but they came in kind of pretty good just under the NDP, and then they just kept rising.
Yeah, and then it flipped.
Came up, and then went down again. So I was wondering about those dates. Were they concurrent when it went down with, or do they match up with the debate with John speaking?
No, I think they match up more with the lie.
Okay.
The lie about the OD. That was actually, I had somebody in my comment section who was very upset with the NDP for that particular issue, and he was actually saying that he was really torn because he didn't like the way they were handling things. And then when Rustad came out and lied about that OD, he told me just yesterday he left a comment saying that he ended up voting NDP because he couldn't stand the lies. And so I think it's the lying, and it's the it was the attacks on the Indigenous and the candidates and the things that the candidates have said. But I think the thing that really swayed the swing voters, because I'm in the riding that I am canvassing in is actually Christy Clark's old riding. And then it was Andrew Wilkinson's riding. And then it's always been a leader's riding of the BC Liberals or BC United. And it was going to be Kevin Falcone's riding, which is why they put this young candidate in this riding. They thought it would be good experience for her, but they didn't expect her to win. And then he pulled at the last minute. But I'm hearing from these people at the door that are really wealthy that they cannot support a Conservative. And then when he came out with the budget, his costed platform, and it was $2 billion more a year, and it didn't even contain everything in it. That sealed the deal for a lot of those voters in Vancouver Kilchina, because they call themselves socially responsible and fiscally conservative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if it comes down to one or the other, they'll go for the money instead of the social. But now the money part has been taken out of the picture because he's going to run bigger deficits than Eby.
Right.
You know, the other thing that we're finding, or that I'm seeing in British Columbia, and we're finding it at our local in Courtney Comox, is, for instance, candidates that shouldn't, for all intents and purposes, be candidates. They're not abiding by the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, for instance, saying hateful things. We had a former candidate here who was a young fellow, and I won't say what he has said on this live because I don't want to get you guys in trouble, but it's horrific. He had to step down as the candidate for the Conservatives, and that was last May. And now the new fellow in the riding, Brennan Day, he denounced the guy. He won't denounce him, and neither will Rustad.
No.
Still actively working on Day's campaign.
Sorry, T-Jack, I have a question.
Yeah.
Was that the guy who the BC Liberals wouldn't take on as a candidate, or was it he was too extreme for the BC Liberal or the BC United Party and they wouldn't pick him up as a candidate? Is it that guy?
I don't have knowledge of that. I can't
remember his name.
It's Damon Scrace.
Oh no, that it was a different guy, but yeah.
But the things that these folks are saying are too extreme for conservative BC United, BC Liberal British Columbians. I one of the posts that I did was, how is it that Rustad is acceptable to the right of center people in British Columbia, but he wasn't acceptable to the United or the BC Liberals? How does that work?
Yeah.
And Eby and team have done a good job at tying him to those conspiracy type wackos out there.
Well, you know what's really unfortunate though is that it actually has given it actually hurt the NDP's campaign to have to focus on the conspiracy craziness that's happening in the Conservative Party, because they haven't been given an opportunity to really talk a lot about their platform, because and I've seen a few pundits say that they've been focusing a lot in on the BC Conservatives and John Rustad instead of talking about what they're going to do.
But you did a post on this yourself, where they scrapped half their platform midway through an election campaign. Yeah. And Eby said this, and so did Firstenow on the leaders debate. How can we comment on something we don't even know what they're saying right now?
Yeah. But I guess what he's getting, what I've seen, I don't know if you follow Mo Amir. He's part of the group of people that have been calling for Rustad to remove Brent Chapman from caucus. But Mo and the lawyer Kyla, I think her name is, they have a show together, and they were saying that unfortunately, Eby's had to spend a lot of time focusing in on the conspiracy aspects in the Conservative Party to try and warn people on the dangers of that party, instead of being able to campaign from a place of NDP, this is what we're going to do for you. Right. They've had to campaign from a place of, we've got you back, but you gotta really pay attention to what's happening over here. And I think that's kind of been, I don't think it's hurt them necessarily, but I think that it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
It's the same thing with the Harris Walls campaign.
Yeah.
Like, how do you not comment on the other candidate saying he's going to bring the troops in to quash protests?
Yeah.
And you have to comment on those. You have to.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you're right, Zojin. They did put out two separate educational platforms on the same day. I talked about that too just this last weekend. They did that too, the BC Conservatives. It was unbelievable. Like they kept.
If we had a media that would do their job, we wouldn't have to have the politicians doing what they're doing, because media is normalizing.
Although I have to say, BC media is much better than the national media. Our BC media has been much better about ferreting this out. Even the City News and the BC CTV, they've been really good about focusing in on the lunacy,
Weirdo-ness, right?
the lunacy of the things that the BC Conservatives propose. Like, the whole thing feels thrown together. Like it's like three little kids. I don't know if you remember when you were a kid and you'd hang out with your cousins and you'd be like, oh, we're going to put on a show, right? Like, let's go put on a show. That's what this feels like.
Yeah.
I like Nerdy to pop back up. She has a few things she wants to say.
Okay, sure.
All right. Just a reminder, tapping is clapping. If we could get the likes up to 30K, that'd be fantastic. Sharing is caring. Hold your finger down on the screen over here and it'll pop up a little pop-up and you can hit send it out to all your friends. If you don't have any friends, you can send it out into the ether with a copy link with the share down at the bottom. Just a reminder to join the team up top as well. The little heart that's up there, it's a 1 coin for a heart me. So it's like half a cent. And then the other thing, gift the panel, gift the channel if you can. It helps keep the live going. Commenting also helps keep the live boosted, gets us out there to the For You page, and gets more people in here so we can talk about this with a lot more people. And don't forget to subscribe to us. We have 4 out of our 5 goal right now. If we get 1 more subscription right now, we'll go on to a subwave. And if we complete the subwave, then we can get extra emotes in the chat.
Wow.
So.
Are we going to be
impressive.
millionaires? Are we going to be millionaires or what?
Yeah.
If I had $1 million. I kind of feel like there's this race to stay the most offensive, shocking thing to kind of get us distracted and kind of emotional, right? And then there's this piece where they're kind of saying like that very American piece where they're saying everything's shocking so that if by chance they do get elected, they're going to say, hey, you guys back this up. Elections have consequences. We told you what we were doing from the beginning.
Yeah.
Here's
Well,
a phenomenon. Go ahead. Here's an interesting phenomenon of Roostad, is that he's not paying attention to the North. And
no, he's not.
Always scream. And I just heard a comment from Fort St. John the other day that said, he's not been here and we're the biggest crew. And yet the sheep are rolling in to vote for him, right? Because they're like Alberta and that they vote party. Emma Strong was mentioning earlier. They're voting party as opposed to person. But Roostad is very focused on the southern part of the province to the point where some conservatives are mad and feeling left out and lonely.
Well, why is he pandering to Surrey? Why is he pandering so hard to Surrey? Like, Surrey is already getting a hospital built. And then he announces that he's going to build a children's hospital, not even an hour's drive away from the world-renowned children's hospital we already have. The interior needs that. We don't need another one in the Lower Mainland.
Absolutely.
And they're getting a brand new hospital. And then there's also Peace Arch Hospital. There's Langley Memorial. There's Abbotsford. There's all kinds of hospitals near Surrey. So why is he pandering to Surrey?
I mean, I just spent a week in the hospital at the beginning of September, and I have a brain aneurysm,
right?
And I was in the hallway for a week, and then at the end of the week, they said we're going to get your room, and they went to put me in a room, and a guy was smoking crack, and I said I'm not going to be staying in this room, so I went and sat in the hallway for another 4 hours.
Was it in Surrey?
It was in Surrey.
Yeah. So but they've broken ground on the new hospital. They broke ground on it in 2022. So and it's in the process of being built, right? So what he's proposing, though, on top of that, is a children's hospital.
Who's gonna work? Who's gonna work there?
Well, that's it, right? Like, where are you going to get the specialists
because we keep training people and they keep leaving, right?
Yeah.
I know there's so many issues. I mean, everyone has so many issues. Personally, I just wanted to hop on here and kind of like celebrate we have so many things that we share, and it really, I do try to focus on that. I mean, you know, there's so much that we can learn from each other for religion, for culture. It doesn't matter which way we come from. We all really want the same things. We want to be safe. We want to be in love. We want to be able to love who we want to love. We want to be able to, you know, not be homeless. It's insane, the stuff. And it's not just a Canada problem. It's not just an Alberta problem. It's not just a U.S. problem. It's a worldwide problem. We really are struggling. And unfortunately, the more we struggle, the more the people who control things tend to pit us against each other. Well, what about the veterans? Well, what about the immigrants? Like, there's always the money has always been there. They're not just going to magically give more money to veterans because now we have immigrants coming in here. Like, that's how it gets so divisive, and I really don't like that.
Well, I think it comes from a lack of education too, because people don't seem to understand that when you gut services for a decade or for 16 years, like they have in BC here, not only do they have to reinstall those services, right, at a higher price, then they can't build forward either because they're busy going backwards, fixing the damage that was already there.
I mean, if you want to look at infrastructure as an example, I don't know how close everyone is to the Lower Mainland, but if you're familiar with the 91 connecting over the Alex Fraser, they've rebuilt that thing twice in the last 5 years. Like, how much more money do we want to waste? How about just build it right the first time with overpasses instead of stoplights, and we'll be fine.
I mean, look at the Patella Bridge, right? Or was it the Arthur Lang? Which one has can't have ice on it? Is the Arthur Lang?
That's the Patella.
That's the Patella.
Yeah, that's the Patella.
Which they, again, like, build it right the first time, right? You know?
Build that bridge.
But yeah, it's sorry, go ahead.
What was that?
Are we talking about the bridge from Abbotsford to Mission, or are we talking about...
No,
from Surrey to Port Coquitlam.
Yeah.
Where all the ice fell off at the first year and just trashed a bunch of cars.
Oh yeah, I remember
which added
that.
to the deficit at ICBC.
Yeah. Right.
But getting back to the current BC election here and the promises and stuff, like, I just didn't understand why he would ignore the North, as the missus was saying, you know, why he would ignore the North, because that's where he's from. And and he made all kinds of promises to them that he would build up the interior, that he would look after the interior, that the interior is always forgotten. And yet all of his promises are for Surrey and the Lower Mainland. So and yet they've gone out and voted for him based on what he said before, but then his platform didn't arrive until into the election campaign, and his costed platform arrived after 20% of the electorate voted.
How can you even trust what's written in that document economically? At least when David Eby came to the table with his platform, the layers were so thick. He confirmed the financial institutions' support. He confirmed through economists that supported that plan. We are the biggest we have a great macro economy that needs to be redirected and flow downward so people experience that level of wealth as well. And the bottom line is you can't fix 17 years of destruction, because it's not just destruction from the Conservatives when they ran under the Liberal title here. We have a Conservative wave across Canada, okay? So this privatization of healthcare has more roots than just BC.
Yeah.
Wait, somebody got in?
Yeah. Well, you know, and I was thinking about this last night. One of the pieces in Rustad's education was to give people money who have autistic children. And it's like, so why would you give them money? And then, you know, like, I tried to get my kid assessed. You have to pay for an assessment, even if it's a child, to get any kind of, like, they're privatizing autism supports and autism evaluations and things like that. That's concerning, right? And he's saying, oh yeah, I'm going to give families with autistic children money, not supports, not services. I'm going to give you money. and then you can go and spend that money how you see fit.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Because no one is going to do that. I mean, not no one, but a very small percentage. You know, I live in Langley, and the homeless, recently, a guy who used to live in my building, he must have taken the buyout. They've been offering people buyouts so they can renovate. And right. They offered me $7,000 to move out of my apartment, and I am holding on. I'm holding on strong. But unfortunately, I think one of the guys took the buyout, and now I see him all day long sitting outside of the Salvation Army waiting until he can go in and spend the night. He's homeless. And they're all along that the bypass. And every day the cops come and pack them up, and then they just wait. And every day they're like, there's enough. Why do we not have a homeless encampment here for people who can stay there? Why is there not a protected place? Have police there. It's such an offer resources. You know, people there have mental illness. They have addiction issues. Like, don't address the issues. Don't just keep moving them, because it's not fixing the problem. There's so, just within our everything. You know, we're talking about privatization. We really could be way more effective if we just tweaked how we triage things. Do you know what I mean? It's everyone's got to get their hand in the pot, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Just a quick thing. Smarsh, thanks for subscribing to our channel. We're now on a subwave, so if we get 3 more subscriptions in the next 14 minutes, everybody that's in here right now and subscribed gets a new emote. And we hit our 5 goal. Yay! Here right now and subscribe gets a new emote. And we hit our 5 goal. Okay, MS Lotus, you have don't drop. 1 second, don't drop. Just minimize like you're gonna go read a text message and then come back in.
Okay, so one of the things I wanted to address was we've got to look to different provinces to see what's working and what's not. Because they threw a bunch of money at special needs, and they said to the families, like, we're just going to give you guys the money. Great, we're going to get the money. But they didn't know how to find the services. And they couldn't utilize the services. And they made the AISH system, they weaponized the AISH system is what I want to say. So when my son, who is profoundly autistic, went on to AISH, it took us 3 years of preparing for that transition and meetings and all of those things for them to tell us that they didn't even think he qualified and we'd have to start. Even though we did, even though I had to maybe we're going to call a lawyer. Oh, no, it's okay. Like things like that don't just work necessarily. We've got to look across Canada to come up with good ideas.
Yeah. So Zojin down here says conservatives don't think homelessness is a problem. They think seeing homelessness is a problem.
Ding, 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 ding.
And that's exactly it. Does everybody remember how Gregor Roberts bussed people out of Vancouver in the Olympics to ship them to Maple Ridge? Do you remember that?
I was a bus driver. I totally forgot about that until you just said it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, in my community, we had people who were offered money to move from Vancouver up here, and it was, it was just for the purposes of the Olympics, but a lot of people stayed, right? So our homelessness issue took a leap during that, as well as some fire stuff that happened around here.
Yeah.
But I also, when I mentioned about the North, I got a video sitting in draft. I'll finish later, but we can't forget about the BC Conservatives that were booted out of their party for strategic reasons. One of them in my area, her name is Rachel Weber. She's a complete far right winger, anti-SOGI, parental conversation, 5G, conspiracy theory, all that is her. Mm-hmm. And they welcomed her and ran her as a candidate when the election first started, and they gave her the boot. And she's running as an independent, and on her conservative sign, she says, I'm a true independent, but true conservative.
Yeah.
So get a smaller movement within this BC conservative movement. And I think that could be why so many, if indeed early polls are about, people who are afraid, right? Then the far right wing conspiracy people would qualify as that. And maybe they're all out there doing the voting.
But a lot of them, you know what? A lot of them aren't voters. Like they're just not. They're brand new to politics. And then there's also people who are like the more radical people, but they don't trust Rustad either. Like they don't trust Rustad either, right? So it's hard to say because I don't live in that demographic. Like where I am here, we get PCs, right? Progressive conservatives. That's mostly what we have down here. Because I'm, like I said, I'm in Vancouver, Kilchina, which is Christy Clark's old riding, right? And Kevin Falcon was going to run here. And
he's a piece of work. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. I have a story about her.
No, they've all been a piece of work.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Andrew Wilkinson was like milk toast. Like I even forget that he was the leader of the BC Liberals from time to time. But you know, I think that I don't think that there's enough of them. I think their voices are small but loud. And I think that the interference from third party like West Coast Proud or West Coast Proud, West Coast Strong, I can't remember which one, and BC Rising and people like Chip Wilson behind the scenes have amplified the noise of them. I don't think they're nearly as strong down here in the Lower Mainland as they are in the interior or out further in the valley. I don't see it that way at all. I don't necessarily think that advanced voting is an indication of who's going to win, because remember, we had record early voting in 2020 during the pandemic, but we only got 54% of the electorate voting. Right. And we had records, like the last record we had for a day of advanced polling was from 2020. And the NDP walked out with a majority and they were the minority government. Right. So I think you got to toss all of that history kind of out of the window, because we're seeing too that there's some nefarious things happening in polling as well, with like the likes of Angus Reid. He just admitted that a lot of his polls that he's using for numbers are coming from online. Right. And then we also know like the Fraser Institute uses their own studies to back their articles and their information and the information they push. Right. So I don't know if we can really compare what's happening in this particular election to anything we've seen before, is what I'm trying to say, right? Yeah. So, I mean, I could be wrong. I could absolutely be wrong, right?
I think also is the thing that they can buy, like when you go, how can it be deceiving online? You know, it's easy enough to go buy 1,000 bots for $50.
Yeah.
You get your 1,000 bots, you direct them in that direction.
Yeah.
Anybody can have a burner phone.
Yep.
It's 3 or 4. I mean, I can just set up a little bot farm right now with my family's 7 votes.
I think it's scary and it's important. Like, I mean, things have changed so much with social media and stuff that we really do need to hope that people who are going to vote are doing their due diligence and actually doing a little bit of research. And to be honest, you know, I'm almost 50 years old. I haven't voted every election, but this time I felt it was very important. And I did do my research, and I have already voted early because I am female and I am not reproducing anymore. Thank God, menopause, hello. But I think it's very important for more than half of our population, to be honest. So I was going somewhere with that statement and it's menopause brain, sorry.
Going right to Zoljan. I'm learning to pronounce it better.
It's all good. I was just wondering, do you think the record number of BC United candidates now running as independents is kind of splitting that right-wing vote, which is why they're so much further down in the polls than expected?
I think so. I did notice that 338 has just included the independence line, but the
Okay.
polls that I'm seeing and the polls that I've been asked to participate in don't ask me about independence. Right? It's not really asking me about independence. And I think that there are people out there that are going to vote for their incumbent because there's about
exactly.
5 or 6. I think there's 5 or 6 MLAs that are incumbent BC United MLAs. And they said rather than be bullied out of their riding, they would stay and run as independent. And the people really love them. Like I know that people were really sad in this riding that their MLA was retiring, Jeff somebody or other, who is from BC United, BC Liberal, and Kevin Falcone was going to be parachuted in here. And then, so they were just going to vote for Kevin Falcone. But then when he did what he did, and now the independent that was the incumbent has decided to retire, they don't know who to vote for, right? So it's good that I'm out there, like we're out there on the doors talking to them because, you know, and empathizing with them. Like they're mad. They are really, and rightfully so. They've had their candidate taken away from them at the last minute, and they don't know what to do. They really don't. You know, and so being able to empathize with them and saying, look, you know, like we understand, and yeah, that's really crappy, and you know, he shouldn't have done that to you, and then being able to say, but do you really want to put your vote with this guy over here? You know, and we have Dallas Brody as the opponent. She's the one that made, like, at the all candidates debate, she's the one that made those comments about the Indigenous. And you could, like, Callista, who's running against her here, she said you could hear a pin drop. Yeah. You could hear an audible gasp from the entire audience when she said it.
I think if I can just jump in, if that's okay. So, Jen, I live on the North Shore, and in West Vancouver, we have a United incumbent, Karen Kirkpatrick, I think is her name. She's running as an independent, and she's been endorsed by every federal Liberal around here, including our own Jonathan Wilkinson, who's a federal cabinet minister in my current riding in North Van. And she's the one that I know about, but I can easily see her taking that riding over the Conservative just because of her history. So it'll be interesting to see. And I don't know the independents in other ridings, but this is
there's like 56 of them now, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. Yeah,
is there really? Have they gotten that many so far? Because the last time I counted, it was 33.
Yeah. No, it's gone higher.
Wow.
So I think
so that will split the vote, I think, quite a bit.
Yeah.
Which makes their merger like that much more ill-advised.
Yes.
Well, and what's really interesting is I'm not hearing a lot of BC NDP, or not hearing a lot of NDP Green votes splitting. Like I'm not hearing that. I think that the Sea to Sky is going to go green. And I don't know if Sonia Furstenau is going to win her riding. And that's actually a shame because I think she's a very important voice in Parliament. But she moved to Beacon Hill, which is an NDP stronghold.
Yeah. And she's running against a really popular Grace Lohr.
Yeah.
And that woman is very popular there. So it'll be and I believe Grace has just been endorsed by the BC Association of Indigenous Chiefs. Sorry, I don't know the actual name. He endorsed her today. So that's a huge one. So that's another really interesting one to watch because it'd be a shame if Sonia Furstenau lost. But better, anyhow, running against a very popular
what's really interesting, sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What's really interesting is watching the endorsements that they're getting because, like, I'm out with Callista all the time, and so we meet up and we exchange gossip in the morning or whatever. And the firefighters who don't normally endorse candidates, they've endorsed David Eby and they've endorsed Callista Ryan. The Indigenous chiefs who don't normally endorse political parties have endorsed they endorsed the NDP at the rally. There was the Muslim community has called for Brett Chapman's resignation. They want John Rustad to remove him. And so like there's all of these this support and these endorsements that are coming out that aren't normally, that they wouldn't normally get, but they're getting them. So like I just, it feels like the province is like, it feels like the adults are behind the NDP and the Green Party. and everybody else, you know, and that's what it feels like. It feels like the province is behind them. Because it's like the hospital union, and it's the nurses union, and it's the teachers union, and it's the BC Federation of Labor is knocking doors on behalf of various NDP candidates. Like the support that's happening for the NDP is why, like it's really amazing.
And to make a comment about your work going door to door, and anybody goes out and experiences that very visceral, making the political personal, you're doing that to the people on the other side of the door. There are many homes that don't have this kind of conversation every day the way we do.
No.
And they look for a place to have it. And somebody at the door, like, I know, like, because I was a Jehovah's Witness in my younger days, and I did the door-to-door thing all the time. Mm-hmm. And nobody shut the door in my face because of the way the person on the other side, you know, how you can engage. Well, maybe one time it happened, but not often, right? Mm-hmm. With this particular topic, though, with everything changing so much in our province in such a quick way, is people who are very curious, and it's not always easy to find. And everybody's scared about misinformation and disinformation. So maybe they don't even trust themselves to go online and try to get the right, even when you go to their platforms, because what did Zojin say here earlier? And they changed the platform all in one day. The education thing came out twice. And, you know, and the way that they are sort of hiding the conspiracy pieces, hiding the far right pieces, hiding the budget. Hey, that's just a little one. So people really appreciate, I think, the knock on the door to be able to engage with. And it's more important even for the smaller. Like I know in Fort St. John, the comment was nobody even knows who the NDP candidate is. And I think strategically, Nerdy wants to come up, does she? This Radical, your fingers up?
I'm just reminding us that it's almost time, and I found the stickers.
Yeah. I did want to say something, though, because I didn't want to interrupt, but we had 4 new subscribers during that time. So J&J, thank you. Treaty 6, thank you. Emma Strong and Nick Magoo, thank you all for subscribing. We have like this subwave. It's really weird because when you hit the goal, it continues like on another goal, and then you get more and more stickers added on. So we still have like 2 more in the next 2 minutes, and then we get like the next sticker kind of thing. So it kind of upgrades it a little bit more. Cool. But when you are doing it on a monthly subscription, they do take a discount off. So instead of $5.49, it goes down to $4.59 for the first month only, and then after that, it goes back up to $5.49. And that's if you do the monthly subscription for it. So
great.
But thank you. We are at 30K likes as well. Thank you.
Now, I hope it wasn't me talking that drove the men out of the conversation.
These are pretty good men that way.
So it's really, I think that the NDP, now I'm going to say this now, I think the NDP is going to pull it out. I do. And I actually think that the candidate in my area is going to get elected. And I don't want to get her hopes up too much, but I really think it's going to be close, but I think that she might get elected. And that would be quite a feather in her cap because this is a BC United stronghold, right? Mm-hmm. I think Kevin really, I don't think that like Zojin said, I don't think that Kevin Falcone did the conservative movement any favors. Like, I don't think the two of them did the conservative movement itself any favors by doing what they did. Yeah. I don't think so.
Have you heard that Kevin Falcone is having a watch party?
No.
That Gordon Campbell is going to be at.
What? And you know what? I have to tell you this, guys, don't be afraid. But one of our conversations the other day was that somebody said there's rumors that Christy Clark is trying to go for the leadership of the Liberal Party.
There's huge rumors about that, and
The
that is
federal Liberal Party.
That's been going around for a while. She's not. No, that'll never happen. No.
Well,
no.
and as they explained to me, what usually happens is they shoot really high and then they settle for something lower. So the rumors are that she's going for the leadership of the Liberal Party, but she might land somewhere lower than that.
Lower.
Well, the good thing for her is that she's actually a conservative, so if she gets the leadership of the Liberals, maybe she can shake them up a bit, and they might win. Sorry, that's how people coming from a Liberal, but no, she's not going to win the Liberal leadership. No way.
No.
Nobody knows her except us. Right?
But I don't know, like how does everybody else feel about the election? I mean, like I said, I'm kind of juiced too from the momentum of Callista's campaign. So I'm riding that campaign high. It may not be accurate. It may not be the way other people see it.
Nerdy, can you pop up that poll quickly? Is it too late?
We got a poll.
Your mic's on.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we can do. We'll do a happy sad poll, a quick poll. So happy face, for NDP, and sad face if you think the Conservatives are going to win. So happy face, NDP, sad face, not who you want to win, who you think is going to get majority.
Where do we see the poll?
Oh,
Down at the very bottom, there's a happy face, and right above the comments, there's a happy face and a sad face.
All right. Let's make that sad face have some pain.
I mean, I was feeling pretty good, but when I saw the aggregate, I'm feeling a lot more confident and, reflective of this election. I keep thinking in my head, like, Conservatives aren't changing hearts and minds. They're putting fear and destabilization.
Well, they're not actually, it's not even so much they're pandering in fear. What they're doing is they are honing in and amplifying the resentment that was there from around the actually they're going back even further into Western separatism. So they're pulling on that, and then they're pulling on the resentment from the pandemic. And that's where you're getting all these wild candidates that are anti-vax, anti-science, racist, bigoted, homophobic, all of the things. They are voting for those people are voting for the Conservatives because they feel like the Conservatives are hearing them, and it will also hurt somebody who is a leftist. That's what's driving that. I
think it's also a little bit, and I am a BC NDPer. I voted BC NDP. I've been vigorously advocating for them. But I will say that we've had a number of very serious failures for people here. One is healthcare, especially in the interior. The homeless situation is a huge failure. The poor communication on the decriminalization was a failure. And so people look at that, they feel it, and they blame the sitting government because they've been here for a long time. And they may not know about all these despicable, disgusting conservative candidates and all the right-wing bigotry. I was just with a friend yesterday whose gay daughter and her wife and her two little children were here visiting, and they voted Conservative in Vernon because they don't know any better. Like, they literally don't. Yeah. And my friend's response to her was, I hope you don't have to protest your own vote when Soji goes away. People don't know, and they see the failures of the government, and we have to be honest, there have been huge failures, which is really unfortunate because the time is right for the right-wing, extreme right-wing, well-financed stealth ops to come in here. So it'll be interesting to see, but I hope they get a majority. I voted yes on that, but I think it's more wishful thinking.
Well,
but they're going to have
I
to
don't
do
think,
something
well,
different.
sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
338 has not indicated that they see a tie or either government
Right.
having a minority.
Yeah, which is great. I'm all about an NDP majority, but I
Yeah.
do think part of the threat to the NDP has been some of these basic services that have been mismanaged. And
Yeah, well, and I think that there's a few things. I hear what you're saying, but see, I see it differently. I see it as things that are like, I see it like a kid's report card, right? Where you have meeting, you have approaching, meeting, and exceeding expectations. And I think that since David Eby has been elected as the leader of the NDP, they have been approaching on those issues. Because when you look at the figures, he's housed 2,800 homeless people. He has funded shelters. He is working with municipalities. We have 210 units of rentals built just in my neighborhood, like within a 4-block radius of me. There's a 161 bed care unit, long-term care beds that are going in on King Ed in my neighborhood. So I think that, I think that it didn't help. It's not helping Eby that he is associated with Horgan and Horgan's record, because Eby's only been at the helm for 2 years. And when you look, when you condense it down to the last 2 years, the stuff that man has pulled off is short of miraculous. Like the amount of legislation he's passed for housing, the amount of programs that he's done, the work that he's done with Indigenous in a 2-year span is really quite something. Like when I said to him, I think he's the best premier we've had since Dave Barrett, I absolutely mean that. I don't think that any other premier, like I liked Horgan, don't get me wrong. And I think he was exactly. What's that?
What about Bill Vanderzam?
Oh, God. My dad was a Vanderzam fan for a while. It was not pretty in my house.
Yeah, but I think what I'm just saying is that in terms of ordinary people, regular people voting, is that there are very visible failures on the part of this government. And these are very complicated issues. And I agree with everything you say.
Yeah.
But for people, if you can't get to your emergency department in Merritt or
Absolutely.
in care, or you're waiting 12 hours to get your kid seen at Children's Hospital, that's those are things I think for people who don't understand the threat of the Conservatives that will definitely determine some votes. And I'm like you, I'm following you closely, Sherry. I'm all about this 338 and really keeping my fingers crossed. We need a majority to stop this. Yeah. And also to stop whatever's going to happen in the federal Conservative tie.
Yeah.
So
I think it's unfortunate this is where we are at in this moment, because I think that had Eby had just another couple of years under his belt, like I think that when they win on Saturday and we go 2 years down the road, things are going to look a hell of a lot better than they do today. Because there's hospitals being built, there's cancer clinics being built, the medical school they've built a brand new medical school, SFU in Surrey. They are building the Surrey Hospital. They're building the St. Paul's Hospital, the new St. Paul's Hospital. They're expanding. I think they're expanding Peace Arch Hospital. Like there's all of this stuff happening, but it's all in the Lower Mainland, and it needs to happen in the interior. But unfortunately, with healthcare, and the hard conversation we're not having is that healthcare professionals don't want to go to the interior.
That's the thing, right? I don't blame them one little bit. Up north here, they're always screaming, but they created the amount of racism and bigotry and homophobia and all that stuff that shows up in these small communities, very unwelcoming when you're, somebody with a different color skin tone that is trying to establish themselves in the community. I've seen doctors roll through the northern rural communities, and as a result, things are shutting down. Mm-hmm. ERs are shutting down everywhere. Mm-hmm. But you cannot fix a 17-year-old You can't fix 17 years of tearing down this healthcare system in 7 years. You can't do it. And everybody, you get elected as a new government. There's so many things to focus on. But David Eby, what you said, and I know in my community, seniors housing is going up everywhere. There's a university here, so we have new housing. It's beautiful, beautiful housing going up for students. And as well as Indigenous groups here have been able to, there's a few, clusters. They're building like a cluster, and it's going to be more than just Indigenous people, but it's Indigenous groups that have done this work to stabilize housing in our community, and they're doing it with the backing of the NDP government.
Yeah.
That'll
all go away.
That'll all go away.
Absolutely, it would all go away.
My only question is, I haven't been to BC since 2007, so I really haven't seen how it is now. Is the Mission Hospital emergency closed now, or is it just like the main hospital closed, but the emergency is still open?
No, it's open. It's open. If they have doctors, it's open. It's my sister, my cousin works there.
Yeah, because my grandma said that it was closed, and I was like, that can't be.
No, the emergency is closed at times when they don't have physicians, but that is technically open.
Well, and that's another piece too, right? Is that, you need to entice people to get into the medical field, and they don't want to, right? It takes 9 years to grow a doctor domestically.
We have lots of foreign doctors here that can qualify, and they don't give them the chance, and that's part of the problem.
I thought they retweaked that whole system, and there are foreign doctors that are being fast tracked through.
Yes, they've retweaked it, but it's not quick enough. It's not efficient enough to get these people through. And again, they should have to meet Canada's qualifications. It's really hard to get the opportunity to do that, and that's part of the issue. So again, none of these things are perfect. And like I say, I'm the hardcore BC NDPer, but they definitely, from Joe Public, have things that they failed at. And you get these conservative parties that come in with these really simple answers. Like, I'm going to get rid of all the homeless people. And people believe that because they want to believe it. It's ridiculous.
Well, I think what they like about it is that there's a certain segment of the population that really just hate houseless people and people who are poor and down on their luck. And they don't want to look at them, and they don't want to know they exist, and they just would rather see them. They don't care what happens to them as long as it doesn't affect them. They don't care. They really don't care about those people. So when you have somebody coming in who's willing to punish those people for being who they are, they eat that up.
All of it, getting rid of homeless people, jail, not bail, all that nonsense that's even gone to Supreme Court and has been overruled. But people want simple, easy solutions in what's a very complicated, difficult world.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
That's why
in Ontario there was
working right now. That's a fundamental current that is feeding the populist movement here in Canada, right?
Yeah.
I
see.
Well, and I don't know I don't know how bad things are and how much we've been led to believe how bad things are. Like, I'm not saying that we don't have issues. That's not I'm not saying that at all. But nobody ever talks about what we're doing to fix those issues. And, Callista and I talk about this a lot because her degree is in communications, and of course she's going into government. And we talk about how governments are really lousy communicators at the things that they're doing. Like, I don't think people know that we're offering $30,000 bonuses for nurses to go into the interior.
Yeah.
Right? Like, nobody knows that. Right? They don't communicate these things. They don't communicate, like, even the way they communicated around the involuntary care portion of the NDP. The NDP miscommunicated that part. And they had all the leftists and all the human rights activists like flipping out because They were angry that they thought that they were just going to snatch, the NDP was going to snatch people off the street and lock them up, right? They didn't do a very good job of communicating that it was strictly for those who cannot take care of themselves. And they have all three: brain injury, severe mental illness, and severe substance use disorder. Like the ones that are the people that are right now currently on the streets in psychoses, those are the people that they were talking about. But they did such a poor job of communicating it that everybody thought they were taking out posses to pick anybody who was smoking a joint off the street and locking them up for substance use disorder, right? They haven't communicated for substance use disorder, right? They haven't communicated substance use disorder, right?
You know, during Rudy, do you want to have something to say? I noticed that we're running after 6 o'clock.
Yeah, T-Jack, you got the echo, so you just have to swipe out and swipe back in. Just minimize your screen and come back. And it's an iPhone thing, by the way. So if you have an iPhone, anytime you get like a message, a call, an alarm, anything like that, you're always gonna have to like minimize and come back. Otherwise, you'll have an echo. No, Smarsh had a question. That's why I was like going like this. Smarsh had a question.
Go ahead, Smarsh.
It's not much like a question, but it's an idea that we could try. Toronto did something similar last year. They had put up, they found unceded territory, and they put a teepee up for people to keep them warm at night. And that's something that the cops actually can't take down because it's unceded territory. If we did something like that too, house the community, the unhoused community, that would be better off, because then they have somewhere warm to go, because they were putting heaters in these teepees and like these big, huge teepees in there, because people are going around in Toronto and all over Canada and snapping up tents and, just cutting them up and destroying people's things. And I think that would be a great idea for everyone in Canada to implement, because then that way we don't have people unaliving on the street. I think it's worth a while taking a look at. I mean, in my opinion.
100% support that idea. I want it to be truly Indigenous people and not anybody like kind of doing a,
No.
I can see
there
that.
Was the Indigenous community involved.
Yeah, that's, as long as that part is there, then I would get behind such a social justice activism piece, because that's what they're doing. They're fighting back in a way that they can, right? Like, it's in their limits, it's in their ability, and it's very creative. I think it's very creative. Great idea.
I got to tap out. I'll see you guys later. We'll talk again
I hope
soon.
You have a wonderful day on Saturday. I hope you have a wonderful day and a tiring.
Same to you. Same to you guys. Bye, everyone.
Bye. I got to go as well. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, everybody, for joining. It kind of looks like this is our signal to wind it down. Mrs. Radical's left us too. I'm not quite sure at what point that happened, but I would just like to close by saying thank you for all the support. Thank you, Nerdy. Oh my goodness, I'm so impressed with the way the subscription and all of that is happening. And I can see it now, and Nerdy's had to teach me how to even look and read the screen, right? Like, we're not going with the information about TikTok, however, but it's a journey. So it's been an exciting conversation. I think there was way more things to go down, and I'm very impressed that we didn't get lost down the rabbit hole of the foreign interference conversation.
Didn't happen at all. Look at that. Not at all.
Okay, so I'm going to say good night, unless anybody else definitely.
I was just going to do a quick little plug. The reason my makeup is like this is because I have a trivia show that I run right after this in less than an hour, and we're doing Walking Dead trivia tonight. So if anybody wants to come, I'm going to put it in trivia. Oops. No. Go back. Oh my gosh, I don't even know how to work my own thing here.
Thank you. Talk skinny.
Okay.
Super cheap.
Anyway, trivia is in Mistress Trash Panda, who just came in right now. It's open to everybody. You just have to be a decent human being when you come in. So trivia here. There we go. Mistress Trash Panda. That's the account. If you want to come and play trivia tonight, it's in less than an hour. Is my pre-show, and in about an hour and a half is when I start the actual trivia. So, yeah, that was all I want to say. Thanks for getting us to 40K likes, everybody. Everybody that was in here. Yeah, it was good. It was good, and we got 10 subscriptions. We're at 10 subscriptions now.
What?
Yeah.
And so next week's show is going to be the results, right? Were we accurate? Did any of our predictions come true, or our thinking, or the way our opinions were leaning? We're going to see the truth of it on Saturday, and we're going to debrief next week. So we hope to see all people and more. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.